Recording in progress. All right. I'm so excited to introduce Dr. Emma Jones to our Direction, Not Perfection community today. Dr. Jones is a hospice and palliative care physician, also worked as a pediatric oncologist and pediatrician. She's been in the field for over 10 years and is active in helping healthcare professionals with burnout in the modern medical system. She's also the author of The Phoenix Blueprint, Emerging Stronger from the Blaze of Healthcare. We are so excited to have you today, Dr. Jones, because I think we're going to have a really interesting, unique conversation that our listeners can run with. So, welcome.
Amazing. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes. So, let's fly backwards for a minute and just kind of where you started and how your journey has taken you to where you are today.
Well, that could be, four whole podcasts in itself. I definitely I just made a Instagram video about changing your mind and how to do that. And I am definitely a um, sort of example of that. And that's sort of following the things that seem right. Um, so I'll say that, I love children. I started my life as a pediatrician. That was the anchor. Kids have so much to teach us. That's a thread through the oncology, through the shift into palliative care and hospice. There's threads that were like threading throughout, even though I was sort of changing on the outside. And now threading into burnout coaching because throughout all those other things, I was observing the toll that the stress of life was taking on people, whether that was my colleagues or whether that was the parents I was taking care of as part of taking care of their children, or now in my hospice work, seeing the toll that caregiving takes on people. This, whether we call it burnout or exhaustion or whatever word we want to use, like there's just too much. There's just too much going on, and really wanting to kind of solve that problem was something that I was feeling pulled to. And then the book really came out of I've lived through a lot of these things, and I've seen these things, and wanting to kind of tell that story in a way that could make it a little bit more of an entry point to people if they just kind of want to get started. So that's the shortest version of how I got here. But I think everybody has some version of that story, right? Like we've gone through different chapters and we've gone through different versions of ourselves, and being able to flow into the next one with kindness and grace is part of what this whole thing's about, right?
Yes, it is. And I have chills just hearing your story because your threads, maybe to some, would not feel like they all aligned, but they did because each unique experience got you to exactly where you are today. And I always think it's interesting at the beginning, we would never know to ask where we are today. Like, there's probably no part of your younger 20-year-old self that was like, you know what I really want to do in life? I want to teach about burnout. Like, you had to live it, you had to experience it before it was placed on your heart. And I can always tell when there's like that little knock of, hey, this is something you need to investigate and go to next, because then that next beautiful door opens and it's like, ah, but I needed all the past experience, before we can sit in this new
Yes.
experience. So thanks for that permission. Honestly, any of the listeners who are going, yep, I'm seeing that right now. And I think you and I are unique. Like, this is going to be such an impactful conversation because you are speaking to a community of women who we like to call ourselves in that Oreo season of life, where you've got the caretaking of parents, you've got the caretaking of kids, burning the candle at both ends and trying to navigate it and make it all feel successful and then still find time for self. Do you have like a soapbox that you stand on this whole like idea of what self-care really means, or like how you see that play out in life?
Oh boy. Self-care. What a button to push.
Oh,
Uh,
yes, I hit it.
I think I used to say self-care is BS. And what I mean by that, and I've sort of softened on that because I don't want anybody to sort of hear that I don't want you to take care of yourself. I absolutely do. But I think that our culture has created this idea of what self-care is that's incredibly harmful and unattainable. And most of what I observe people saying self-care is what I would call indulgence. So, wine is not self-care. That is it's fun and it's an indulgence, but like that's not how we're taking care of ourselves. Even things like bubble baths or going to get massages may just be some form of escapism and not really self-care. So it is a little bit more about intention. It's not necessarily the action itself. Um, but I think that over the years, as I have made this transition for myself, I was one of those people that said that, right? Like, oh, I'm having a self-care weekend. I'm going out. I'm going to have a nice meal. I'm going to have a nice bottle of wine. This is my self-care, or I'm going to why is it always about food, right? I'm sure you have plenty to say about that, but the indulgences that are the joie de vivre and do make our life very nice are not what I would put into self-care. Um, Self-care is boring. Sleep, water, good nutrition, movement, doing I've added now we have a little bit of in my programs we work on a body dashboard, so those were the four pillars, and then we've added right brain activities and um, nature to the body dashboard too, of like the real self-care, right? So that's my soapbox about self-care, when is really just calling out indulgence in disguise or avoidance in disguise and calling it self-care. And that can take a lot of our time, that can take a lot of our money. There's a huge industry of like people who want to sell you things to like say you're doing self-care. But if you feel sort of worse at the end of it, then it really wasn't a self-care to me. How do you
Oh,
think about it?
that's so
I have
good.
a feeling we
Yeah.
share some opinions about this.
Yeah, I think that you did a wonderful job of what self-care is and what it is not. So thank you for laying that out so beautifully. And I 100% agree with you. And what I was visually seeing as you're talking, it's like when you talk about sleep, it's that we can't pour from an empty cup. I'm seeing the cup fill, right? When we're well slept, we have a
Mm.
little bit more to give the next day. Our energy battery goes up when we feed ourselves appropriately. And we're not talking deprivation, ladies. Like we're talking nourishing. Just enjoy more fiber, enjoy more fruits and beautiful vegetables. And like just keep it just, again, that cup is filling. So I love your pillars. Thank you for those. And just this idea that it's not selfish to do the form of self-care that Dr. Jones and I are talking about, when it really leaves you a nicer person, less irritable with people around you. I always felt like there's this help and hindering, and you can talk on this too, of when maybe we do too much for self, that now we're neglecting things, that like the woman at the gym who's there for 3 hours, her family
Mm.
might be suffering, right? Like they needed something in that time. But the woman at the gym for an hour who comes home happy and calm and ready to like give more of self, like that was a total help. What do you kind of have some of those discussions of how do you let your clients start to see that difference of selfish versus this is important and you're a better server because of it?
Oh, that's a really great question. I think that the first work that we tend to do is to look at what's happening now, right?
Mhm.
Like, are you serving people well in your current condition? And most people tell me no. No, I'm yelling at people. I'm reactive. I'm kind of like headachy and backachy all the time, and I don't have any energy. Like, no, I don't really feel like I'm serving people well. So if we can start from, well, what you're doing now isn't working. What can we do differently? Taking those little micro changes, right? No, we are not going to start with 3 hours at the gym, or we are not going to start with an hour of meditation or some complicated, thought work ritual or whatever. We're going to start with 1 minute of meditation, or we're going to start with a 10-minute walk. Um, if we think about the body dashboard, what can check multiple boxes? Like I get outside in nature, I get some sunshine, and I'm taking a walk. And if I bring my water bottle with me, I'm doing my hydration. Like, wow, in 10 minutes, I did four of the things on the body dashboard. So really kind of thinking that way and then collecting data. When you go out and do that walk and drink that glass of water, when you come back, can you think a little more clearly? Can you be a little bit more present with your child? Can you be a little bit more present with your elder that you're caring for? Can you have a little more patience, right? Like, so what is the metric that you're looking for? For a lot of people, it is patience. That is definitely something that we measure a lot. How much can I space out that stimulus and response, right? How much can I widen that gap as evidence that this stuff is working? It gets tricky when we have to let go of the old things that we used to measure, right? For good reason. We aren't worried about maybe some of the things we used to worry about, like our whatever it is, right? Like whatever old thing that we said, it wasn't helpful for me to focus on that. But then people always ask me, like, well, then what do I focus on? Um, and you said a beautiful example too, like do more of the good stuff, and then it kind of crowds out the bad stuff. So I talk about that with thought work too, because one of the ways that we have to care for ourselves is inside of our own minds. I mean, that is like the most important thing for you to take care of. It's always with you. You can never leave it. Don't we want to make it a nice place to be? And having more good thoughts will just make it impossible for bad thoughts to be there. So this is where things like mantras or chanting or even like listening to like a nice song over and over again. Maybe just having a blank mind is not really available to most of us, but turning down some of the stimulation from the world and turning down that churny noise of negative self-talk will have an immense compound ripple effect like throughout every aspect of your life.
Amen, sister. I totally agree. So good. Yes. I love that you mentioned like I say sometimes evidence or success leaves clues, and you're saying gather
Love
your
that.
evidence. That evidence keeps us going if we can see something working. And most of us don't take the time to acknowledge, whether that's to journal it or whether it's just to say it out loud or acknowledge in the moment, I'm more peaceful. I literally just had this conversation with a client 2 days ago that she was like, I can tell some boundary. I would like to talk boundaries with you. Some boundary is getting stretched or pushed because I'm snappy. I'm not
Mm,
acting how I want to act with my son. I'm not acting how I want to act with my coworkers. And so like we got to take a session to kind of take that deep dive, and it did. It always boils down to boundaries are being broken, and she was pouring
hmm.
from an empty cup. So, do you do a lot of boundary work with your clients?
Yes, boundaries are a huge issue for caregivers. Whether you're a professional caregiver, which is most of the people who hire me to coach, or whether you're a family caregiver, which are my patients, you know, parent or elder care or sick family member caregiver. And boundaries are one of the biggest challenges that I think we all face because we have this um identity, right? It's like I want to be a good whatever. Let's just say parent for the sake of this
Mhm.
conversation. I want to be a good parent. And then we have a concept of what that means. And then we feel attached to that concept. And we will just blow through so many boundaries in pursuit of that sort of marker of whatever that is, which is probably most of the time based on somebody else's definition of what that is and not our own. It wouldn't blow through so many boundaries if it was our own definition of what that meant.
Yeah.
Um, but then, you know, that looks like overgiving, spending too much time. It looks like taking on other people's work. That is actually the biggest boundary violation that I have to address. It's sneaky because it looks like helping. Um, Anne Lamott has this quote that I love that says, like, helping is just the sunny side of control. Stop getting your helping and goodness all over me, right? So I that was like transformative to me. Like if I'm picking up something that's actually somebody else's to carry, that's a boundary violation. And um and so that's really definitely some of the boundaries that we have to look for in that comes up with me a lot when I work with people who are in a caregiving space, either professionally or family.
Say the quote again.
Helping is the sunny side of control.
It's so good. Thank you for that
Mhm.
tidbit. That's getting written down somewhere. Yeah. I
So
think
pertinent with our
it,
kids, right? Like think about any age kid, right? You say, "Oh, well, I want my children to do chores." Well, okay, then let them do the chores. Like, don't stand over them and be like, "Oh, you're folding that towel wrong. Let me show you how to do it again."
Mhm.
Or, "Oh, you bundled up your clothes all wrong. Let me fix it for you." Like, give them the task and let them do the task, and then provide age appropriate guidance and expectations and feedback, but not hovering and like actually hand over hand doing it for them. As we get into teenagers, which are my children right now, are teenagers, giving them that space, which is terrifying, of course, right? Handing them car keys and saying, yep, go out and do your thing, or sending them off to college and letting them be their own person. These are terrifying things that we would love to be able to control. Um, but that's actually a boundary violation. Like we are pushing into their space and trying to control them more than is good. It does result in over on our side. So that's their side, right? They're like, you're pushing into my space. This is harming our relationship. On our side, we're holding on to like all of this stuff that we can't actually control, right? It's a boundary. I talk about zones of control a lot. What those are boundaries, right? The inner circle is stuff that you definitely can control. The middle circle is stuff you can influence but not directly control. And the outer circle is things you have absolutely no control over. Like your children's actions when they're at college, when they're 22 years old, is like totally outside of your control. You can't even influence it anymore. Maybe when they live in your house, you can influence it, but like that's gone. Trying to spend all that time worrying about it, spending all that time staying up late, whatever it is that you're doing, dress rehearsing badness, that is a boundary violation inside yourself, right? Like I'm time traveling, I'm imaginationing into bad things to come. So we think a lot about boundaries in the concrete, time and space. But when we start to think about these energetic boundaries and these psychological boundaries, that's where we can really reclaim some of that energy. Like, how much time was I worrying about things that weren't inside of my control? That's a boundary issue to me as well.
Yes, thank you. That was laid out perfectly. And I think about mental load with any of that. Like, as
Mm.
you're saying these boundaries, and you said energy, even, we gain back physical energy when we can let these things go. And then we also gain back physical time. And then that gives us mental load to like that piece lessen so that we can focus on things. Like in my world, it would be like, this is how we can do more of the meal planning and we can get to the grocery and get the meals done. And because we have mental space for it. Because if all your mental space is in that borrowing trouble land of in the catastrophizing of, it's really hard to do these advanced skills of functioning so fluently, right? Like all of our mental space is already taken. So all the work that you're doing is opening up beautiful time and energy for the things that take us into our older years so much healthy, which is where I really want to lead this with you. I feel like we're going to miss this
Let's
golden opportunity
go.
if we don't talk about it. But you are a hospice physician. Like you see these next seasons of life, and my community talks about really like wanting to meet our 80-year-old self and our 80-year-old self be proud of our current, like all of our efforts that we've been
Mm.
doing to get there. So, where does your brain go when we say that?
Okay, I love that immediately because that for me was the key personally to connecting with healthy lifestyle. Like until I could say this is what's building that 80-year-old body, that was a goal that was like worth it. Like that was an important why for me. So I love that you frame it that way and that's how your community talks about it. When I think about why did that become so clear to me? Well, it became so clear to me when I shifted from working with children to working with older people. And I was all of a sudden seeing the effects of a well cared for body versus a less well cared for body. Now, some things we can't control, right? We may get illness, we may get diseases. The best lifestyle can't necessarily prevent everything. So we don't have blame or shame for anybody's 80-year-old version. When I'm meeting them when they're 80, 90, 100, the oldest person I have ever had was 106.
Oh,
Um, and not ready to go yet either, by the way. She was like, I'm not ready to go. So, it takes all kinds, but I think that what the reflection that I had was that when I'm meeting people at that late stage, we don't have time to really undo some of the things. If this took us 80 years to get into this, how am I supposed to get us out of it in 1 or 2 years, or sometimes when I'm meeting people in hospice, I only have 6 months or a year or even a much shorter time frame in some cases to work with that person. And obviously, the aims of my care are different. We are more focused on comfort and quality of life than on longevity and extending the life. But the things that allow that are the same, right? Like having your mobility, having your good nutrition, having your good sleep, having your hydration. We talk about those things. We still try to optimize for functionality no matter where we're starting. But it became really clear to me that the further back you started, the better foundation we were going to have that we could work on through the illness, through the injury, through whatever it was that was happening. Certainly, when we talk about dementia or mental decline, I think there's really, really good evidence that actions that we take in our midlife years can impact that or prevent dementia. Brain health is body health, so everything we talked about in the ways that we take good care of our bodies, we're also taking good care of our brains. So that's really impactful. And then beyond the sort of body health things, the sort of emotional and psychological things that also became extremely clear to me are that there are some milestones that we have to go through as humans. And of course, we think about the childhood milestones, as you learn how to walk, you learn how to talk, you learn how to read. But the milestones that we need to cover as we get older are about learning how to let people help us, learning our place in an interconnected system, learning how to let go of things. Because when it comes time to really let go, like when it's your time to go, you have to do those things. And the earlier you can start practicing, the more you can become good at them,
Mm.
the easier it is going to be for you to make that final transition. And I see people who I can tell, oh, you've had some practice, and oh, this is your first time. You never let anybody help you before.
Oh,
I
that's
can
so
I can
good.
tell. I can see it. Like we can see it so clearly. And this has informed my work as I'm now going back. With that individual sitting in front of me, I don't have a time machine. I can't go back 40 years and change their trajectory, but I can go back to the people who are 40 years younger and say, what can we change now so that you're on a different path? Um,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
interesting how you're putting this because I don't think that we've done a lot of talk into the whole like prepping for making older years of life easier. That just hit me really hard with the whole thought of, hey, if you can't accept help at all, and we witness those individuals, right? Like pride is very strong. That
yes.
yeah, that might be that version of the super grumpy grandparent, right? Who's like, I hate that I have to accept help. And yeah, it's interesting. That's an area we could practice. So
Yeah.
thank you for
It's so
highlighting that.
easy. Like, look for all those little moments that you can, I mean, just so easy, right? Like, oh, could you empty the dishwasher for me while I just sit here? Like,
That's
let somebody
can
help you and then let them do it their way, right? Then we got to have the boundary. I asked for help and now I have to like let them do it. But
That's
those, yes,
good.
and I think that has been really impactful for a lot of my clients when we not only can put it into like, this is how it's going to be better for you now, and also this is how it's going to be better for you in the future. It's always best when we can have a win-win.
Yeah, doesn't it feel, it feels like you get to double, like for the effort, you get double the prize at the end of it.
Absolutely. What a great idea.
No, no, because it is effort. And we would be lying, if we were saying this is easy. It's not easy. It might be simple, like some of the pillars might feel simple,
Hmm.
that these are important, but it's not easy or else everybody else would be doing it easily all day, every day. I
That's
feel like I
right.
get a lot
Love
of
that.
yeah, clients who are like, I know what to do, I just need to do it. And then I was given by a physician one time this Chinese proverb of to know and not do is to not know. And I'm like,
Mm.
ding, 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 right? Like, we don't know. If we don't know, we don't know. We just need somebody else, like a coach, to shine that light on it of these are areas you could be working on. You're missing this, and it could make the journey easier. I also wanted to speak on there's this maybe scared component, like it's not motivating to function out of fear. And so when, as you and I are having this conversation, and as somebody's hearing you go, I see what that next version of life looks like. I could see some listeners going, "Ugh," like the scared piece comes into it. Do you have a way to kind of continue to talk this
Mhm.
through and just I mean, I guess it's okay if we're a little scared, but just, I don't know, that just resonated as like, I never function out of fear well. I quickly go to like doing the opposite of what I know I should be doing.
Yeah. No, I think fear, acknowledging effort, the difficulty, um, is so important, right? Those are going to be two barriers. This is something new that I've never done before, or that I have maybe assigned as like a bad thing to do. And now I have to sort of change my perception about it, do a different action. I'm afraid because there are going to be consequences, whether they're external or internal. If something changes, right? And so those are true. So it would do neither of us any good to just say, just get over it. You're making something out of nothing. Like taking this seriously is an important piece of it. But holding it with compassion, right? So all humans experience fear, totally natural emotion for us to feel. Doing something new is one of the biggest things that would drive fear. So of course you're going to feel that way. Let's just normalize that. It's not going to be a one and done. Like, woo, I got over it one time and then I'm never going to feel afraid ever again. Well, okay, that's your perfectionism talking. Let's just be compassionate that it's going to keep coming up over and over and over again until the day you die, right? Like, nobody gets out of this. It's part of the human experience. So I think common humanity, I think holding yourself in grace and love are the antidotes to that. Not trying to say, get out of here, fear, right? Like that, just like, hello, fear. I see you. Of course you're here. You're welcome here. You're not going to drive the bus, right? We
Mhm.
never give fear the keys, but like you can have a seat, like somewhere in the seven-seater in the back. Um, and like just holding ourselves in that humanity and in that self-compassion for me has been the most effective and is for most people that I work with. Expecting ourselves never to feel fearful is also very human and
Right.
very common thought pattern in high achieving, well-intended, loving people, right? I shouldn't feel this way. If I really wanted this or if I was really dedicated, I wouldn't be afraid. Well, that's just your brain lying to itself. So the more you can recognize that your brain loves to lie to itself too, the more you can kind of get through things. But fear is helpful, just like pain, like physical pain is helpful. There is a condition in which body, like there are people who don't have pain receptors, and it's horrible. I mean, these people, they don't live very long because like pain serves a function, fear serves a function in our bodies. We just can't let it be the top line driver of all the decisions. You put that really well too.
No, thank you. That was so good. And I also think you're so comfy in the sense of you mentioned micro actions earlier. And as you're talking through fear, I think there's this layering of comfort of the small actions do make a difference. So it's not like you have to flip
Mm.
your life on its head to get results, to get brain health, to get, can you take us with your physician speak on how those small actionable steps show up later, like just by getting a little extra sleep, just by getting a little extra water,
Mm.
kind of go that
Sleep.
route with us.
Okay, sleep's going to be the top one.
Yeah.
If you can only work on one thing, work on sleep. Lots and lots and lots of good evidence for how high quality sleep promotes good health, brain health, body health, weight maintenance, all muscles functioning. Like everything gets better when we sleep, right? So what's a micro action? Set a bedtime. Like just by saying I'm going to get in my bed at 10 p.m. will have that compounding effect. Okay, maybe the first couple of nights you're like staring at the ceiling or you're reading a whole book, or I would not advise taking your phone to bed. So that's the second action. First, give yourself a
Mhm.
bedtime. Second, get the phone out of the bed.
Mhm.
And then, wow, look, after a few nights, you're actually starting to fall asleep. You could layer on a few more habits that you stack up, and then your body's programming. We know this from children, right? When you're getting a child to go ready to bed, you take the bath, you put on the pajamas, you put on the lavender lotion, and then all that their bodies, like the minute you start the program, they're already falling asleep. That's what we want, right? We kind of have that predictable program, and then we're falling asleep. Then you're sleeping 8 hours at night. Sure. Do some things have to happen in your life for you to have that sleep opportunity? Yes. But those are other little micro actions that you could, oh, okay. Oh, now I'm being woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning because of this. How can I solve that problem? How can I solve this problem? Right? You do it the best you can. You do it the best you can. Perfection is the enemy of the good. We do the best that we can. But then you're getting solid sleep for a week in a row, a month in a row. All of a sudden, you realize your exercise capacity is better. Your decision-making capacity is better. You can make those better choices about your meal plan. You can actually make your meal plan, right? Or eat the food that you prepared for yourself. Because when we're
Right.
sleep deprived, takeout starts looking real good. Um, you that like all those things start to compound. So it doesn't matter which one you start with. I'm going to always say sleep is the most important, but if you want to start with hydration, we could easily kind of map out that cascade of how just starting with I'm going to drink eight ounces of water when I first wake up in the morning as a micro action that then compounds you into a whole healthy lifestyle. That happened to me. I mean, I am living proof of it. I used to disdain exercise, love comfort food. I didn't really hate vegetables, but I hated preparing vegetables. Chopping was really the bane of my existence. Um, and thought sleep was for the weak, right? Like I'll sleep when I'm dead. And now everything is opposite. Like I go to bed at 9 p.m. I make sure I get my full 8 hours. I do all my hydration. I really notice, how the nutrition affects me. Like getting granular about how that felt was a huge game changer for me. But I didn't have the capacity to do that until I started some of the other
Right.
things. And exercise was kind of one of the last things that I added in. I mean, I really had to give myself permission to be quote unquote lazy. It's one of my least favorite words. Um, but to do more restorative activities, right? Like, oh, what the stage that I'm in right now is actually a rebuilding phase. I have to get myself rested and restored before I can really think about like, let's run a marathon. The perfectionist in me definitely wanted to go like whole hog on everything, but that's not that the more sustainable strategy for me and what I recommend to my clients is this gradual stepwise strategy. And
Right. Well, and
it
I've
just
heard
works
this.
better, right?
It
You know that.
does. And I feel like I've heard professionals speak on like kind of the silver lining of menopause and perimenopause is that we can't do the go big or go home anymore. It doesn't work anymore. Right. So like that programming, though it might have served us in our earlier life, like we do have to find this permission and grace, and it doesn't feel right when we're when
Mm-hmm.
when that is not our automatic reflex go to. Like even yoga to me was very hard to get into because it felt very like this is too not enough. If I'm not out running 5 miles, then like what is this doing for me? But I will say for our listeners, like once you can get into more of the restorative, oh my goodness, there's so much like peace and talk about cup filling and just like you come out on the other
Yeah.
side of this that's just so it's like, ah, my body feels so much better.
So
But
much better. But
mm,
like the micro actions, or James
mhm,
Clear talks about the 1 minute habit, right? And I think some
mhm,
version of that. Some days I am an avid practitioner of yoga, and it was something that was pivotal to getting me through my own burnout mentally and physically. But some days I'm like, get on the mat in the child's pose for 1 minute, like, and then see what happens, right? So just to give your permission, self permission, just to that's all. You're a success. Check done if you did that. Um, but that it might lead to more. Like once you get your leggings on and get on the mat, you might be like, I could do a two more poses here. Um, and then just just like giving that grace, being a little playful with it too, right? I mean, I think this might be the pediatrician in me, but letting go of agenda, letting go of like this has to be something like who are we performing for? I mean, even yoga can get a little performative, right? I have to make the pose look the right way, or I've got to be able to touch my
Yes.
toes. Like, who cares? You can't do it wrong. Just get on the mat. I started practicing yoga out of spite. It's a whole nother story, but my first few yoga classes, I literally just laid on the mat and cried. And my teacher was like, "You're so good at your yoga." I mean, thank God I had this amazing teacher. She's like, "You're so good at your yoga." And I was like, "What?" Like now I'm like, "Yeah, I was good at my
Yeah.
yoga." But I was like, "I'm not doing anything." But it was
Uh,
what was needed, and I was getting in the studio, which was the micro habit, which then led to more. Like at least I
sure.
was there.
Yeah. And everything that you're talking about, and again, my brain just goes here because this is my community, but it's all getting out of breaking diet mentality because you can't get into any of this restorative mindset, into any of this permission grace when your brain keeps telling you, burn more calories, check the
Yes.
box, get on the scale. Like those two things, they don't go together. So we're forever gently, doing those micro actions to get out of diet mentality and into being that next best version of ourselves. So
Yeah.
you know this, and I've said it, but like we're speaking to a community of caretakers, and I could just see people going, I really like her. How do I get more of Dr. Jones? Like, do you have things that you even offer from a virtual standpoint if people don't live in your state? Tell us all about your business.
Thank you for asking. The first thing that is immediately available is my book, The Phoenix Blueprint. I called it that because I really want us to think about a new way of living. And so, Phoenix imagery of kind of rising from the ashes and creating something from challenge, not resisting the challenge, but saying, like, I'm going to thrive from this was the kind of core concept. So, yes, my book is called The Phoenix Blueprint Rising Stronger from the Blaze of Healthcare. But anybody who is in a caregiving role will benefit from it, not just professional caregivers that are healthcare professionals. So that's thing one. You can buy that anywhere you buy books. And I am working on a program for burnout in caregivers right now. It will be open soon, so you can check my website, emmajonesmd.com, for all the details on how that program's shaping up. Otherwise, I'm doing one-on-one coaching, which you can also find the application for on my website. And follow me on
Fabulous.
Instagram.
Yes, absolutely. And all of that will be in the show notes so people can just click and go. What am I not asking, Emma, that you feel like, oh, one last thing. What does our community need to hear?
Well, the one thing that I love to talk about, that I just need to say the word that have been threads, is impermanence. And one of my biggest things that I love to talk about is embracing impermanence in the writ large, right? We are impermanent. We are only on this earth for a very short time, and we need to do what we can do. But that even within that, we have these chapters or these seasons or these aspects of ourselves that need to change. And so, just like we need to practice accepting help, we need to practice letting go, and we need to practice celebrating and embracing the just impermanent and ephemeral nature of life. As we're recording, it's fall. I don't know when this is going to play, but fall is a lovely time to reflect on this because nature is showing us that it is
Mhm.
ever impermanent. Um, Food is another way to practice this. Like when you're eating something that's so yummy and delicious, notice if you're having that, oh, I'm going to be so sad when I'm finished eating this kind of feeling, right? Like just love it for like what it is and be happy about it and don't have that graspy feeling. And then you'll have something else delicious to eat again. Like trust that it will happen. And so just kind of trusting those cycles and seasons, both as something that helps your life be better now, but also as something that is practice for the future, is one of the things that I always love to talk about. So thanks for letting me throw that in.
Yes, you are a complete delight. We were so lucky to have you today. Thank you for your time, your wisdom, and you're invited back anytime.
Oh, so great to talk to you and your audience.